Okay, hello out there in internet land. First things first, I do apologize for the quality of the actual video. I'm backlit, which is making, from what I can see on my screen here anyways, making the video extremely hard to make out, so I might actually just go ahead and turn the camera and point it straight. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm traveling to Toronto right now. I'm heading into a magic auction at one of the two magic stores in Toronto. There's the Morrissey Magic, which has been around for a long time. They make a lot of their own metal products like pans, plates, pails, things like that. They also sell those to other companies, so a lot of you might be familiar with the Morrissey line of products. But I'm also heading to the Browser's Den of Magic. Now, the Browser's Den of Magic is the magic store that I essentially grew up with. I met its first owner, Len Cooper. He actually gave me my first series of magic lessons. I learned the Biddle trick from Len Cooper, so I have extremely fond memories of that store. Len unfortunately passed away quite a few years ago, but before he passed, the store was bought from someone by the name of Jeff Pinsky. Now, I didn't realize this at first. Is when I first started getting into magic when I was 19 years old. I'm just going to change lanes, so hold on for 1 second. When I first got into magic when I was 19, like I said, I saw something at a restaurant that totally intrigued me. I promptly forgot about it, but then what I did was I used to go to Wonderland, Canada's Wonderland, which is a huge amusement park up here just north of Toronto. I used to go there every weekend. I had a season's pass. So it was essentially, just like all you needed was a means of transportation of $20, and you had a whole day's worth of fun. We used to go 3 or 4 times a week because I didn't have a full-time job. So what am I going to do? Hang around, and be bored all my life? So, anyways, I was walking around, and I happened to notice that tucked inside one of the little shops was a little magic kiosk. And I looked, and sure enough, they were selling magic stuff. So the very first thing I ever bought, oddly enough, was Bobo's Modern Coin Magic. And I opened it up, looked at it, read a few pages, closed it, put it on my shelf, and never looked at it again for like another 10 years. Newcomers to magic just aren't ready for that kind of thing. So anyways, Jeff sold me my first magic trick, which I hadn't realized until I saw him again many years later when I got back into magic and was visiting the Browser's Den. And since then, I count Jeff among a very good friend. He looks out for me, I look out for him, and whenever we have these auctions, he has these auctions, I go ahead and I just simply, go up and pay homage to the hobby and the store that has helped me out. So, on that note, I'm heading up to the auction. I'm hoping to pick up a few books and stuff, mostly books. As I mentioned in my last video, it seems that a lot of young magicians aren't reading. And I don't blame that on the magicians, I blame that on the times. Media has grown and progressed in such a way in this day and age that we no longer have the desire to sift through items. We want the important bits presented to us quickly, efficiently, and as succinctly as possible. Which means people no longer want to sift through a magic book of like 500 or 600 pages, trying to figure out in their heads what an effect is going to look like, and trying to figure out for themselves how it's done. The magic video, sadly, has, in my opinion, really killed the magic book business from the perspective of selling to new people. Now, the older a magician gets, the wiser, as well as the more experience they get, they tend to understand that books are generally the way to go. Not because they're the better method, the better medium. They just present a blank slate. And by that, I mean, when you read a book, or an effect in a book, essentially you're just reading the effect. You're not seeing the personality of the performer. You're not seeing all the little inflections, the visual cues, all the little things that make that performer him. You're not seeing those, and therefore you're not picking up on those, and you're not learning those. By all means, video, I 100% agree that video has a place in today's society, magic society anyways, because how else are you going to learn the intricate timing of things like a classic pattern? how long he gets ticked off before he's forced around me, because right now he's on my butt. But as I was saying, I digress. So, it's more of a patience thing as well. I notice that more and more young kids just simply don't read. I have three nieces and one nephew. I took them to a bookstore one day, and I said, go ahead, pick out a book, because I want to encourage the reading. Reading is an excellent way to just expand your vocabulary, use your imagination, and learn. You'd be amazed at the things you could learn from reading. So I took them into this bookstore, and they didn't know what to do. Like, they couldn't figure out what they wanted to read. They didn't know what they liked. They didn't know authors. They didn't know genres or anything like that. And I wouldn't say I was shocked, but I was sad. Because my home especially, I've got books coming out my eyeballs. Books I haven't read, books I've read more than once. The town I live in has, I think twice a year, they have this giant book sale where you can get like a box of books for $30. And if it's noisy in here, I apologize as well. So, I think it's a problem with today's youth and younger generation. I'm not going to just pinpoint youth, but I would say younger than me. I'm 37, so a lot of people younger than me just prefer not to read because they get their information quicker when they watch a video, but it doesn't necessarily mean they get all of the information, and that's the difference. I was reading a Jamie Ian Swiss book, Shattering Illusions, and he pointed out that your average newscast has fewer words than the front page of like the New York Times. Now, when you look at the New York Times, you kind of think, well, there's like a couple hundred pages worth of news in there. What am I missing? And that's just it. When you read a magic book versus watching a magic video, you have to realize, what am I missing in the video that I'm not picking up by reading the book? Now, and again, it's vice versa. The two complement each other. I can't stress enough that I feel that the two complement each other. My camera's bouncing, so I'm just going to kind of shift it off to one side here. And by the way, don't drive and videotape yourselves. I do this at my own risk. So, I remember watching Ninja One for the first time. This was back years ago, a long time ago. And I remember watching the Classic Pass video, and for years, trying to read that in a book has stymied me. Not because I'm an idiot, but more because I read too much. I was actually tested, and I read far faster than most people. But the cost of reading far faster than most people is that as I take snapshots of the various pieces of the page and put them all together, I read for context and not detail. And that is what has done me in as far as reading. So my magic books, I really got to work to learn something from a magic book. So the Classic Pass has stymied me for months and years. But I remember watching Ninja One, watching Brad do the video, and trying it out for myself, realizing and just stunned at how, I wouldn't say simple, because it's definitely not a simple move, but how easy it was to piece together the various mechanics of what needed to be done in order to have that sleight accomplished from start to finish.